Hi everyone. Today I'm going to teach you how to use Google Earth to make your two maps for our conflict zone project. So with our conflict project, you're using Google Earth, and if you open Google Earth on your computer, the first thing you should see is something like what I'm showing you in front of me now, which is a full shot of the Earth. Now I will use Mongolia as my country, because I know none of you are using it. And the first thing I want to do before I do anything else is I actually want to change what Google Earth is showing me. So in the bottom left-hand corner, in the area that's labeled layers, you see all these things that are ticked on in my specific Google Earth. What I want to do is I want to actually tick them all, and if I tick off the primary database, they all come off. And I just want to go into borders and labels, and I want to check borders so that those yellow borders come on around the countries. That's the only one I want to have on right now. The next thing I want to do is I want to go in the top left hand corner into the search area, and I will type in my country, Mongolia, and I hit enter, and Google Earth takes me there. Now, as you can see, there's all sorts of different things still on here. So the next, but we'll leave that for now. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out so I get back to the global look. So I'm zooming out, and I can now see the Earth with Mongolia in the center. Now, obviously I know where Mongolia is, but if I put a picture of this in, no one else will. So the next thing I want to actually do is I want to label Mongolia. I've already zoomed in on it, so that's the point of reference that Google Earth has. So now I have to actually add a place marker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here where it says add place mark in the top label, and I'm going to click on it. And it has put a place mark there. Now I've already enlarged that place marker. I'm going to put it in as Mongolia. It shows up big. Your place marker will not show up that big. You will need to go into the style and color and set the scale for the label and the scale for the icon at a different size. Yours probably sets at 1.0 to start off with. I've changed mine to 8.0 and 5.1 because those are just the sizes I chose. To choose them, you just click and change. So if I want to label at 5, I could change it to 5. If I want to label it 10, I could change it at 10. When I've chosen my size, I hit OK, and I have my global map. Now, I do want to respect Boltzna. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to change this navigation that you see on the right-hand side to only show the compass, and I'm going to put a scale on. So in the top left-hand corner, I choose View. I go into Show Navigation to get rid of the navigation, and I go to Compass Only. And you see on the right hand side, we now have a compass showing north. I will then go back to View, and I will put on Scale and Legend. Now Scale and Legend you can already see is on, and there should be a scale down here, but because it's at the global size, it won't actually show a scale. And that's fine for this map. So I'm happy with View. I will click it off, and I have my map. My source is listed in the bottom corner. I'll just have to add my title and my legend later on. So here we go. I'm now going to transfer this over to a Word document. I'm going to go into Word. Word has a great function where you can insert a screenshot. So I'm going to go in Insert, Screenshot, and all the different windows I have open will show up here. I can see this is my Google Earth window. I will click on it, and it will drop a big picture in. I then need to go into the crop function on this side. It may be slightly different on Macs, but it will be virtually the same. When I click on crop, these corners show up, and I move them so that they only include the parts of the map I want. So I'm going to drop it there. I'm going to drop it here, I might actually extend this so that it's equal and that I still have Google Earth in my shot. I'm going to click outside the box, and there is my first map. Now if I want to make it larger, because I can barely see Mongolia, I make it larger. I then have to put in a title and a legend. So I suggest for the title and the legend, you insert text box, and you actually go down and put draw text box, because they are easily dropped anywhere in and typed and moved around. So if I'm putting in draw text box and I want to put a title, I'll just put it here, and my title will be Mongolia World Map. And I'll change my text box size, and I can change my font size. I can underline it and bold it, and I can make it bigger so that it actually fits, and I can move it towards the center where it belongs. I therefore have a title for my map. I also need to put a legend on. Now my legend for this will be simple, and I'll just drop another text box in, insert text box, draw a text box, I'll drop it here. Whoa, what happened there? I'll insert text box, draw a text box, drop it in here, and I'll write legend. And in my legend, I will have to grab the pin. I'll have to take a screenshot of the pin or a snippet of the pin and move it into my legend and label that as key country. Now the second map, which we'll drop in down here, is a close-up map. So back into Google Earth, I will put my navigation back on, and I will put automatic, so I've got everything back. I will zoom in on Mongolia. Now, do I still want this giant Mongolia here? No, I do not. So what I'll do is I'll actually take this, I'll right click on it, and I'll go into delete, and I'll say okay, and away it will go. Now I still have labeling on here. I still have this labeling of country. So I still have this labeling of countries here that I want to get rid of. So the first thing I need to do is I need to close that original search I've done of Mongolia, and I'll just hit the X here to get rid of it. I then need to get off all these regional labeling and the regional borders, which I don't actually really want to show. So down here in the layers, I'll actually expand the borders layer. And I want international borders, I want country names, coastlines are fine, but I don't necessarily need them because I can see the water as blue. I'm going to take off the other borders, I'm going to take off the other labeling, I'm going to take off the second layer. So now all I have is my base layer of Mongolia. Now depending on what I want to put in my map, I may keep it at this level, I may need to go out a bit, or I may need to go in a bit, and that's largely dependent on where your camps are, where your refugee camps are. For my case study, I'll just leave Mongolia here because I'm making things up. So on top of Mongolia, on top of just labeling the country, we have asked you to label other important aspects. And for that, you're going to have to start using different types of labeling. So if I were to add a place mark for every refugee camp, I'm going to go in, I'm going to put an untitled place mark, which I'm then going to shrink back to 1. And my scales, I'm going to shrink back to 1.0. I'm going to hit OK. So we have normal size place marks now. So I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to name it, what are we going to call this? We're going to call it Camp 1. and my place mark is Camp 1. Now, I can also hit properties, and for my camps, I probably want to have something other than a pin. Maybe I want to have something that's representative of refugee camps, like a tent. I click on that tent, and I hit OK, and there is one camp. Okay. If there are other camps, I then take this, I have this camp, and I will put, oops, I then take camp, I drag it, and I put it somewhere else. Camp, whoops, camp 2. Okay. If I want to do more camps, I simply add more place markers and drag them to the appropriate spots. Camp 3. So when it comes to my legend is a summary of all the camps. And so in my legend, I will put one of these little tents, and in the labeling of it, I will put refugee camps. Similarly, if I want to add for instance, a forest area, well, maybe I'll choose a tree. I'll say, okay, I'll call it the Black Forest, and wherever that black forest needs to go, I'll drag it there. If I want to add lakes, I choose an appropriate marker. Let's see, maybe this, good, lakes, which could also be fog. These are waves, and I'm going to put it here because that's my important lake, and I'm going to call it Lake of Doom. Okay. When I get to my legend, and this is important, if there are multiple forests, you want to have a tree regardless of the forest. In the legend, you put by the tree symbol, forest. If you have 5 lakes, then you put the lake symbol in the legend, and you simply put lakes. You do not put a different symbol for all the different camps or all the different lakes. Similar symbols. If you're marking cities, maybe the capital city is one symbol and the smaller cities are other symbols. That's your choice. But in the legend, a legend is small. It comprises of the symbol which represents all of the other places. So, if you look at this, I now have to import a new map into my actual Word document. Now that I've zoomed in, I have a scale which Google Earth has given me. I then have to go back up, hit View, go into Navigation, Compass Only, and I have the Compass Only. I'll go back here. I'll click down here because I want a new image to come in. I'll put Insert, Screenshot, this one, go through the same process. I will have to cut it, crop it to the right size. I will have to put a title on it, an appropriate title on it, and I will have to put a legend inside. So please, when you're doing this, make sure you're being precise, make sure you're only including the needed information, and make sure you are fulfilling all the areas of BOLTSNA: border, orientation, legend, title, scale, source, neatness, and accuracy. And remember, Google Earth can do most of those things for you. The two it cannot do are legend and title. Thank you very much.